plaintiff, Natasha Sherman, and her boyfriend, Michael, say the defendant had been friends with her aunt for 40 years, and she said he was a trustworthy man. Natasha claims after she stayed with the defendant for a few days, he started acting inappropriately by trying to massage her while she was sleeping, and she's suing him today for emotional distress. Defendant Kevin Kelly says Natasha is an admitted heroin addict who also worked as an escort. Kevin claims while staying with him, Natasha was using heroin and was often passed out, and he's countersuing her for pet expenses.
Start with you.
I met Kevin through my aunt. She had known him for over 40 years and had said that he was a trustworthy guy. And so in August of 2015, I was getting ready to move to Vegas, and he had a hotel room and offered for me to stay there with him when I first got to town. So me and my dog Mojo, we stayed with him for a few nights, and he had offered to give me different massages as a friend, and I accepted. I mean, who doesn't like a good massage? But one morning I woke up to him touching me, and he had...
Touching you?
Yes.
That's what you have to do to massage.
Well, it was just, I was asleep, and so it was a little weird to be waking up.
People fall asleep a lot of times when they get massage.
No, this was not while he hadn't asked this time. This was the time.
I haven't asked you your name. You haven't told me your name, so you be quiet.
Yes, sir.
But go ahead, ma'am.
So
he gave you massages.
Yes. And then he had gone back to Orange County, and I had moved into where I was staying at. And he...
Oh, I'm going to let you complete your story about him waking you up. I don't want to cut you off there. He woke you up one evening and did what?
Was giving me a massage when I woke up, and had drawn a bubble bath for me. And I, felt that this was like over the boundary of being a friend. Mm-hmm. And so I kind of dismissed it because, my aunt had, said that he was a trustworthy guy.
You didn't get in the tub, obviously.
Pardon?
You didn't get in the bubble bath.
No, not with him there. No.
You did get in it?
Later on, yes. He had gone to take my dog out, and I had gotten in, yes.
Go ahead.
And anyway, so I moved into my place, and he had been sending me emails about going on to these different exotic trips. Mm-hmm. And
what did he ask? About going on this trip? Exotic vacations?
Yes, there's two different
What was your response?
One of them was a bird watching trip that I said sounded like fun, but the New Zealand one was for a honey. No, I didn't agree. I just said that it sounded interesting.
To go with him.
And then the other one was that he had said that he had wanted me that he was house sitting, and that I would look good next to the jacuzzi and in the spa.
What did you say?
I had told my aunt that.
What did you say to him in response to that?
I don't believe that I responded to that. He hadn't been coming on to me like that until later, until this trip.
All right. Good enough. Sir, you want to give me some background?
Yeah.
You work as a masseuse?
I'm sorry?
No. Go ahead. You give me you give me whatever background you want me to have.
Okay. Well, Natasha is an admitted heroin addict and has told me far more than I ever wanted to know about her work as a escort. And I actually met her, as she said, through her aunt several years ago. She was doing a jail stint down near where I lived, and her aunt called and asked if I would visit her because she didn't have other people to visit her. So for the next 4 months, I would visit her whenever.
How often?
It was allowed. It's like every weekend, once.
What year was that?
Honestly, I don't know for sure. I think it was 2010. It might have been 2013.
Do you remember that?
I was 19, so...
The year, do you remember?
I don't remember.
All right, he says in 2010, he would visit you every weekend in jail. All right, you visit her every weekend in jail. Mm-hmm.
And once that ended, I think she was in on a drug charge on that particular round at the jail. But after that ended, I had virtually no contact with her. Occasionally, a phone call maybe every 6, 8 months or something like that. Until more recently, it turned out that I had, this sounds silly, but an extra condo in Vegas. And she was moving to the Vegas at the same time and was homeless and broke, and so I said she could stay at the condo while I was there.
All right, and when she came to stay with you, you began massaging?
Well, at one point.
At one point?
I don't recognize most of the description there of the time.
Pardon me?
I don't recognize most of the description of our time there.
Okay.
But yes, she did get some massages, and
did she ever complain about any advances you made toward her?
No, she was doing heroin the whole time and was passed out for the most part.
How do you know?
Well, I saw her doing it once and saw the paraphernalia multiple other days on the bathroom counter. But I was entertaining friends from Austria, so I wasn't even at the condo the entire time.
Did you want to respond to the allegation that while you were staying there with him, you were high on heroin all the time?
Do I want to respond to that? No.
Yes. Okay, so you're not going to say yes or no?
No.
All right.
Natasha is an admitted heroin addict and has told me far more than I ever wanted to know about her work as a escort.
Plaintiff Natasha Sherman and her boyfriend Michael say Natasha is suing her former friend, who claims Natasha is an admitted heroin addict.
So let's get to the emotional distress you're suing him for.
Yes, I'm suing him for the emotional distress of when I asked for my dog back in February.
Tell me how he got your dog.
I had wanted to get my life together, and so he had offered to watch Mojo, my Chinese crested, and as a favor for me while I got back on my feet. And so. When
was this? What month and year?
This was in September of 2015.
Okay, a month after you had come to stay with him.
Correct.
And you went where?
And I went to my friend's house, and he went back to Orange County.
All right, and so the dog went back with him?
No, the dog stayed with me for that month.
Okay, I'm trying to get to the point in which he took possession of your dog.
Yes, I was having, my dog was, peeing and having some issues where I was staying at, and so I figured that while I got back on my feet until I moved into a new place and had the money to
September
do that
15.
In September, I sent him over there because he said as a favor that he would keep good care of him and make sure that that I could get him back when I had gotten back on my feet.
Okay, and what happened?
I ended up breaking my collarbone. And so I was in the hospital for several weeks and had 4 different surgeries. And my dog is an emotional support dog, and so I, like having him around to help me.
When you asked for your dog to be returned, what did he say?
Yes. On February 4th of 2016, I asked for my dog back, and he didn't respond to any of my messages, and nor my text messages or calls. And
so have you spoken to him since February?
Yes, I was getting weekly updates and different, pictures he would send me from him.
So I'm saying when you asked
but when I asked for my dog back, all communication stopped.
All right, and you haven't heard from him since?
Yes.
All right, sir.
I'm not sure where this end of communication in February comes from because there's numerous texts here in March between us.
Between the two of you?
Yes. And she had indicated she wanted him back, and from the very start, I never said I was going to do this for nothing. But from the very start, she'd say, should I give you some money? But she would always preface that with, I've just been beat up, I've just been robbed, some sort of tragedy or drama in my life. So I'd say, I can wait. So finally, when she got to the point 9 months later of saying that she wanted the dog back, I said, okay, when you pay.
I had offered.
Finish, ma'am.
But once she said that she was going to come by and then her friend was going to come by and then a friend of a friend was going to come by, I said, not until you get current on the expenses. And
but she had offered as a favor to watch my dog.
Let him finish. And let's see those texts where you claim there was communication. She says there was no communication between the two of you after February of 16. Well, yes. So you want to say something before I read these texts?
Yes, no, communication stopped when I asked for my dog
back.
Right,
February. You said February. They
yes,
stopped.
And
not
February.
Until March.
Okay,
again.
sir, be quiet.
Okay.
So on March 13th, which would be less than or a little over 30 days after you said he never contacted you again, This is him saying, as I told you, the bottom line is Mojo is staying here. The arrangement was contingent on you getting your life and situation stabilized and covering his expenses. Neither of those things have happened. You don't recall receiving this?
No, I have those here.
Okay, what you said that you all never spoke again after
I
February.
didn't say we never spoke again. I said that the communication had stopped.
That means not speaking, ma'am. That
Right,
means not speaking.
Not
Got
in
it.
forever.
I see what the deal is here.
Not
What else you
forever,
want me to
just
know, ma'am? What
until
else you want me to
started
know? You were
saying that-
dishonest with me, ma'am. And he
I'm
busted
sorry.
you. So she agreed to pay you say, because your counterclaim is for pet expenses.
Yes.
How did you expect her to pay you if she didn't have a job? Or you expected her to come out and get a job?
No, one of her texts, she told me how wonderful her life was. She had money in the bank, was renting a car, and
One of the texts you just handed me?
yeah, it was like a Disney turnaround.
So how much are you wanting for his expenses? Did you ask him how much he wanted for expenses?
I did at one point, but I had said that I didn't understand why he was asking for expenses.
All right, but
when
at
this
this
was a
point
favor.
you asked how much he wanted, ma'am.
And also it was because for 400 of it was for the neutering of my
Whatever the
dog.
case, you just told me earlier you never agreed on any expenses.
I
And the
didn't.
next text I read, you're asking him how much for expenses. Sir, did you discuss an amount with her?
She agreed to pay for the care of the dog, and that's a low end of the standard rate. And then the subsequent invoice that I
I was
sent
going
that
to
you
have-
Quiet.
the subsequent invoice that you have there was actually even lower.
Yeah, that is for $4,800. And this would amount to how much per day?
$15.
$15 a day. Okay, so why won't you return her dog? Is it because of the payment?
Yes. Well, it was actually twofold. The one was the payment, and the other is after almost a year, he's become a part of the family.
But you say there was never an agreed upon amount.
No, never agreed upon anything.
No, that's not true. You do agree upon something. You said it in the text that you would pay him.
The expenses were for expenses of
Get
the
out
dog.
of here. I told you to be quiet. Get going. Out of here. Out. 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 Did she ever complain about any advances you made toward her?
No, she was doing heroin the whole time and was passed out for the
How
most
do you
part.
know?
Well, I saw her doing it once and saw the paraphernalia multiple other days on the bathroom counter.
Plaintiff Natasha Sherman and her boyfriend Michael say Natasha is suing her former friend, who claims Natasha is an admitted heroin addict.
Your claim is dismissed for emotional distress. His is granted for pet expenses. Judgment for the defendant. Have a good day.
I just want my dog back.
It just covers expenses.